live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honourable
you human trafficker.
Honourable they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
telling them not to counterpunch.
Welcome to another exciting edition of Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. On this edition of the program, Brume retains African gold in long jump. Meanwhile, Adekoroye tops wrestling rankings. In football, Nigeria plays Ghana in yet another friendly duel today. Details of this and many more will be yours when we return from the break. Stay with us.
Telling them not to counterpunch.
Welcome back, Sports Talk, and I have with me Kingsley Manuel.
Thank you very much for having me, Siri. Very happy to be here this morning.
Well, the African Games ongoing in Ghana has just about 24 hours to conclusion, and with the games almost coming to an end in the West African countries are beginning to take stock of medals won. But just before we look at the medals table, Nigeria continue to increase her medal haul, especially with Brume, a girl from Delta State, defending the gold medal in the long jump.
I think it's really an impressive, of course, feat for Brume, despite, of course, not getting to her personal best. You know, she actually did that with a jump of 6.92 meters, and I think for me it's actually a very huge one, of course, for Brume. Last time, of course, in the All African Games in Morocco, she also took a gold medal. It's a good one for Brume, though everyone actually expected, her to improve, in terms of meters, but for she getting good, I think is actually a very huge one. Let's see how it goes. I think for me, it's a good one for Brume. We've seen her participate in different events, and she's always been consistent whenever it has to do with the long jump. For me, good one for her, and as well, good one for Team Nigeria.
6.87 jump, and in Ghana, that's what meters we saw of Ruth Usoro. What does that make up for Nigeria?
For Ruth Usoro, everyone was tipping Ruth Usoro, of course, to get ahead of Ese Brume, in this particular. Looking at the fact that she's been very, very consistent over time, ahead of for the All African Games. But, Ese Brume just came, by a surprise and actually took up that, gold medal we saw. For me, I think a little bit setback, for Ruth Usoro. But I think when you take a look at both, athletes, you definitely give Ese Brume, some edge ahead of Ruth Usoro. Ese Brume has been in the game for a very, very long time. It's just the fact that the recent she has not really put up, that performance that everyone expected. And Ruth Usoro, of course, has been coming up with it. But for her to actually come first and Ruth Usoro, of course, not actually getting that gold medal, I think it's not a bad one. It's just for Ruth Usoro, of course, to just go back and see how, of course, to put up some impressive performance, going forward.
Talking about the Nigerian ladies at the long jump event, at that part, we did see yet another Nigerian, Christina Ochonogo, who claimed bronze medal, surprisingly ahead of the much expected performance from Ruth Usoro.
Yes, that's actually what I said earlier. A lot was actually expected, from Ruth Usoro, but I think she didn't just, this is not our best at all. This is not our best. When you take a look at, our performance in previous, championship, you see that, a lot was actually expected from her, but, she didn't live up to expectation in the All-African Games, especially in this particular event. But I think there is still more, of course, for her. We still have a lot of, championship that she can actually show her progress. Good one for, the likes of Ese Brume and the other lady, but for Ruth Usoro, I think this is just one or two. This is a championship that she has to learn one or two. And I think going forward, she might definitely, of course, come up better.
Still keeping an eye on the field at the African Games in Ghana, the women discus event, defending champion and African record holder, Choma Onyekwere, was upset by a compatriot. It looks very difficult now. It's one Nigerian up against the other. We saw Ese Brume upsetting Ruth Usoro. Now it is Choma being upset by Obiageri Amechi. Everyone expected her to win, but it was Obiageri who won the gold medal with 58.93 through in the discus event.
Yes, I think it's a very good one, of course. For what we've seen, Onyekwere, she's been in the limelight for a very long time. Don't forget, at the Commonwealth Games, she actually had a very impressive performance. And coming to see Amechi, coming up this time, this is to show that there is more competition, among Nigerian athletes. Everyone is looking forward to get to the podium. So if you don't step up your game, you might likely see someone, of course, coming up to take your position. So from what we're seeing, at this point in time, I think the competition is getting more stronger. It's getting more, tight, at this moment. You have to be on your A game. If you're not on your A game, no matter what, of course, how good you are, you might actually see someone, of course, coming to outclass you or take your position. And that's what we're seeing, at this point in time. I think a good one, of course, for Obiageri, who won, of course, the gold medal in the discus throw. It's still a plus, for Team Nigeria. But I think the competition we're seeing among the athletes now is actually something very, very good. Going forward, we might be seeing, of course, Nigerian athletes, doing better because of the competition we're seeing among themselves.
Well, let's hope that Nigerian athletes will end it on a high in the next 24 hours or so, because we're looking at more events, especially on the tracks where in 200 meters we've seen Nigerian men and women all expected to be in the final, who gets underway in just a few minutes or hours from now.
Yeah, impressive one, and I think the men, they've actually done well for themselves when it has to do with the 200 meters event, and I think the athletes, the likes of Alaba Akintola, Consider Ekanem, and Olainka Olajide as well. These are, athletes, of course, that have actually done well since the
Consider Ekanem. A lot has been expected of her from these games, but she's yet to deliver the way we expect of her.
Yeah,
she's one of Nigeria's prospects on the tracks.
Consider Ekanem, of course. Before the All African Games, we saw him, of course, posing a very good time, for himself, and I think his record was actually being ratified with the World Athletics team before the All African. There was a record he actually put up, and a lot of expectation, of course, was on him. But from what we've seen so far, he hasn't really lived up to expectation. His performance at Bros and Seawart as well see what they will be able to bring to the table.
Well, we talk about consider, it kind of reminds me of the days of Chidi Moose and their likes. Innocent, Agbunike, and the rest of them. Ordinarily, you just say, well, Nigeria will make it straight to the gold medal. But let's see, in the next few hours, what will come out of it. It is the final coming up in 24 hours, and so most of the events are in the final. And one of them where Nigeria have prospects as well, the hope, is in boxing, where we have as many as 8 Nigerian boxers in the final of the African Games, following their very impressive performances in the semi-finals. What do we expect from the finals today?
I think we should be expecting a very impressive performance from what we've seen so far in this boxing federation. Talking about the male and the female boxers, they've been very, very impressive. It's been a long time we saw the boxing federation, of course, getting to this stage, you know, in championship like this. The likes of Adeshina, talking about Joy Ojo, and in the male category, these boxers, of course, they've been very, very, you know, fantastic. Even in the female category as well, the likes of Patricia Mbata, she also as well has been very, very fantastic, you know, in this particular one. So I think getting to the final is a good one of, you know, for Team Nigeria when it has to do with, you know, boxing at this point in time, because at least if you don't get a good medal, you get a silver. But getting down to this stage, you know, when you take a look at the fact that it's been a very long time that boxing has gotten to this stage, you know, in any championship, of course, you expect these athletes, you know, to get a good medal. So for me, kudos to the boxing federation, kudos to the boxers as well. I think this is a time where they have to make sure they give their all, at least to get a good medal for the federation after a very long time.
Hope is on the 75 kg, where we have United Kingdom-based Patricia Mbata, who recently lost in the final of the World Olympic qualifiers in Italy, who defeated as well Gremina Adonsida of Mozambique by points to also qualify for the final. Let's see what this diaspora boxer will bring to the Nigeria. Meanwhile, in the men's division, Delakbo Omole, who already qualified for the 2024 Paris Olympic Games last year, expected this month, would a lot is placed on him because he took out his Zambian with a very commanding victory in the final of the men's 75 kg. We need to have consistent names in boxing here in Nigeria. We're beginning to see, you know, boxers, you know, look like footballers. Foreign-based Nigerian boxers.
Yeah.
Now they're emulating the footballers. So, do we expect? Do we put so much hope on these diaspora boxers?
Yeah, we should. We should. Just like, you know, whenever we talk about table tennis, we mention the likes of Quadri Aruna, we mention the likes of Fatima Bello, Funke Shunake, though she has not been on the limelight for some time, and if younger them and the rest of them. You go to athletics, we mention the likes of, you know, Esebrume, Toby Amuson, and the rest of them. I think it's then time we need to start looking at that same, you know, gesture as well for Boxing Federation. Just like I mentioned, it's been a long time, the Boxing Federation, they've not actually gotten to this stage when it has to do with championship like this. But good of the thing, we're seeing them at this point in time. The big question is, can we start, you know, talking about the likes of Adeshina? Can we start talking about the likes of Joy Ojo, Patricia Mbata as well, and even Dalapo, who has actually made it, you know, to the Olympics as well? Can we start talking about this, you know, boxers consistently? I think it's all going to boil down on their prowess. It's going to boil down on their performance. If they continue, if we continue to see consistency, of course, consistency brings you to the limelight, and that's when, of course, the media will now tilt, you know, media houses will now tilt their eyes on you and start putting you, of course, you know, on the web. So from what we've seen so far, I think these athletes, of course, they really have to live up to expectation. Consistency really have to be, you know, seen in them before, you know, we can start talking about them, you know, day in, day out. But for what we've seen, impressive performance so far at the All-African game. Can they keep this momentum going forward? Can they be consistent? That's the big question in this point in time. But let's see how the finals, of course, will pan out at the end of the day.
While we're expecting the finals to come up in the next 24 hours, some members of the 15-player senior women's cricket team at the games, they actually won bronze at the showpiece. Do you not have their faith in their hands? Yes, they have the medals, but they are afraid that the largest promised by the federal government may just not come their way.
Yeah, they are actually afraid because, you know, prior to the All-African Games, the ministry actually excluded their names as the names of the athletes or the cricketers from those that will be participating at the All African Games. But the Cricket Federation took it upon themselves, to sponsor these players down to the All African Games. So the ministry do not really have, them in the cricket team, this female cricket team in their budget. And there's the fact that this is the first time that Nigeria will be participating in the cricket events at the All African Games. And the fact that they've actually added the medal to the medal tally of Team Nigeria is an advantage. So for me, I think the ministry should look into that direction. Assuming they went there and they didn't actually win anything, that would have been a different ball game. But this one, they actually added a bronze medal to the medal tally of Team Nigeria. That's an advantage. So for me, despite the fact that the ministry did not include them, but they went in there, they went down there and were able to prove a point, for themselves. The first time Team Nigeria is participating in the cricket event at the All African Games, and they were able to get a bronze medal. Though the male team did not get a medal, but the female team were able to get a bronze medal. That's why they're actually considering, themselves, at this point in time. When you take a look at it, good medalists, of course, will be going home with $3,000, which is about 4.2 million. Second, the silver medalists will be going home with 2.8 million, which is about 2.8 million. Yes. Why the bronze medalists, of course, will go home with 1.4 million naira. That's to actually help, those cricketers. It will take them a long way at this point in time. So, if the sport, for me, I think the sport ministry should be considerate. That's why the fact that they were not in the budget, but getting a medal, for the country, I think is something the sport ministry should consider the cricket female team.
Well, let's still look at, we're just hours to the end of the games in Ghana. We have to look at the medal table. And looking at the medal table shows that Egypt definitely runaway champions with as many as 97 gold medals. No one can get close to them. Nigeria has just 37 gold medals just before hostility gets underway today.
Yes, for me, I think it's actually done and dusted, because I don't see anything that Team Nigeria will do 24 hours, to the end of the All African Games. No matter what Team Nigeria will actually do within 24 hours time, I don't think they will actually get close, to the Egyptians. They've actually done everything, and that is the beauty of for the game, but somehow, Mr. Siri, it actually takes the competition away. Egypt dominating in almost all the sports. I think that's, and competition. We didn't really see it, especially in this edition of the All African. Though it has always been like this, where Team Nigeria will always come second, but I think it's then time Nigeria should look for means of competing with Egypt at every point in time, where the All African Games, of course, take place. The All African Games, like I've been saying, take 4 years, for we to see the next, of course, edition. It will take 4 years for we to see the next edition, and that's a very long time. And this is what the Egyptians do. They get themselves prepared ahead of time. 4 years is a very long time for you to prepare yourself, ahead of the All African Game. But I think what has happened, what has really brought a little bit of setback for Team Nigeria, is the fact that poor preparation has always been our problem. The All African Games take 4 years, and you take 2 months, 3 months to prepare in a competition that takes 4 years, of course, to happen. Why? So for me, I think poor preparation has been the reason why we've seen setback when it has to do with the medal tally, of course, for Team Nigeria. If we can improve in our performance, definitely we should be competing with Egypt, at this point. I take a look at what we've done, what Nigeria has done so far, or what they've achieved. Take a look at wrestling, weightlifting. Now we're talking about boxing. The boxers getting to the finals. The athletics as well. Toby Musan. Those athletes, they can perform more better than what we've seen if they have been given adequate preparation. So for me, I think we should come after this particular edition of the All African Game. It's good for them to come back home and the sports ministry to re-strategize and see how this athlete can prepare ahead of time.
Well, after the games, we definitely will take an in-depth look at Nigeria's performances at the 13th African Games concluding in Accra, Ghana, and see what could be responsible for Nigeria's perennial second place position. Has it got to do with level of preparation, or has it got to do with number of sports discipline which Nigeria do enter? If you remember, Nigeria is in Ghana registering or participating in only 25, of the sports discipline on contest at the games. So do we enter for more sports discipline, or do we have comparative advantage in this sports discipline as compared to the North African countries that are so far dominating at the African Games. Tunisia, Algeria, and of course the principal of them all, Egypt, amassing medals, with reckless abandon. Nigeria needs to strategize on seeing how we can topple Egypt if we are serious. We can enter for more sports discipline where we have a comparative advantage and prepare on time. But all of that will be after the African Games. We'll take an in-depth look at it, especially on our program Sports Extraordinary. Continuing on our program Sports Talk this hour, it is cheering if you're a Nigerian and you are especially a follower of wrestling, because Odunayo Adekoroye, an Olympian, is now ranked #1 globally in the 57 kg category with nearly 50,000 points. He has 49,000 points according to the United World Wrestling latest ranking. Adekoroye, #1, no doubt, deserving.
Cheering news, very, very deserving, Mr. Siri. Adekoroye, of course, take a look at her performance at the All-African Games, where she defeated Zainab Hassan of Morocco, by a pinfall to win a gold medal in the 57 kg. That was very, impressive performance, and that was the, performance that actually gave her that, point, 49,000 points, for her. And as well, we saw her at the World Wrestling Championship in Egypt after the All-African Games as well. She also had a very, very impressive, outing as well. So for me, I think she's done well for herself. It's good that we're now seeing, the competition at this point in time. We have a lot of wrestlers in the country. You can't take away one of the most decorated wrestler we have in the country. Talking about Blessing Bro Dudu. We still have other young ones as well coming, the likes of Genesis, and the rest of them. But I think for Adekoroye, she has been able, of course, to distinguish herself, when it has to do with her level of performance. So for me, I think she really deserve this particular position.
Wrestling, no doubt, distinguishing here in Nigeria, and of course, Daniel Gali cannot be elated any less for seeing these wrestlers, come top in the world. And talking about the wrestlers' performances at the African Games, you remember 15 of them went to the African Games, with 9 with coming back with gold medal, 1 silver, and 2 bronze. 12 medals, that's really, really good. Of the 12 medals, 9 in gold color, 1 in silver, and 2 in bronze. We couldn't have performed any better, especially in wrestling. So, in fact, the Wrestling Federation deserves a special mention at the end of the Games. Meanwhile, the same could be said of powerlifting, because in a remarkable display of strength and skill, Nigerian powerlifters have clinched 4 gold medals at the ongoing powerlifting World Cup in Egypt. We see this happen a little bit often now. Powerlifters here in Nigeria, wherever they go to represent, often come back, very outstanding.
Yeah, very, very outstanding. They've always lived up to expectation, and that's why a lot of persons have actually clamor for the fact that these para athletes, of course, should be taken care of. Their welfare, of course, should be increased, because whenever you see them in any competition, they always deliver. They always bring back medals, of course, to the country. So for me, I think it's a very good outing as well, for them going there and being able to clinch this number of, gold medals is a good one. We look forward to see, of course, what comes up for them. But for me, the sport ministry should try to see their eyes, to the welfare of the para-athlete. For some time now, we've not really heard much about, the welfare of these athletes. Some time ago, most of them came out, to complain that they're not, being taken care of, and all of that, and it's not easy to take care of, for the federation alone, to take care of these athletes because of the way they are. They're not really that mobile. That's why, some persons have actually clamored for the sport ministry to always at least look for a way, to support this, athlete. Taking a look at, such a performance, I think is a good one. And if they have been taken care of and all of the things they need have been provided, of course, these para-athletes will go all the way to put up in a very, very impressive performance that what we've seen at this point in time. So let us see, how it goes. But for me, good performance from them.
Bosse Bejide definitely needs special mention on the first day of the competition. That was just 24 hours ago when she emerged victorious in the women's -50 kg category, showcasing her exceptional talent and of course determination to secure gold medal. And adding to Nigeria's success was Esther Wogu, who demonstrated her prowess in the women's minus 41 kg category, claiming the gold medal amid stiff competition. And of course, it is an upgrade to the silver Wogu won at the 2023 World Cup in Dubai. In the men's category, on Thursday, we saw Thomas Kurek dominated the competition in the minus 65 kg class, coming with another gold medal, while we saw Roland Ezurike showcase his strength and technique to secure the country's fourth gold medal in the minus 54 kg category. Reigning world champion Nyechi Mark in the women's minus 61 kg and Kafila Amaruf in the women's minus 73 kg were very exceptional for Nigeria. These special athletes especially needs to be really encouraged, if you ask me, because they have brought more laurels to Nigeria than the able-bodied athletes. That cannot be debated anywhere if we look at the records. Power athletes, special athletes have brought more laurels, more medals to the country than their power athletes. Surprisingly, they seem not to be, given the kind of recognition you want. They need specialized equipment to continue to win, and of course, a lot of encouragement as well. But it looks like it has been the other way around. We call on the authorities to do their best to ensure that if they are not taking a part, there could be nothing wrong seeing them more than the able-bodied athletes in terms of medal haul and returns for the country when they go for international championship. Well, it's time for us to take a break. When we return from the break, we'll take a look at the Tigress, yes, the female basketball team of Nigeria. They will be in Paris in the next few weeks from now to be to compete at the basketball event at the Paris Olympic Games, and everybody knows that they have been drawn into what has been described as a group of death. Australia, Canada, you can't but take a breath in this one, France. But we'll look at it when we come back and see what the Tigress need to do to survive, in that very tough group. Beyond that, football, it is 60 years now Nigeria first played our football match against their counterparts from Ghana. And in that first game, I remember it was 5-0 in favor of Nigeria. Can it be said of the same now? Well, I doubt it, but we'll see in the next few hours how Nigeria will compete on the football pitch in Morocco, Marrakesh, Morocco, against their counterpart, the Black Stars of Ghana. When we return from a break, we'll give you in-depth analysis of the very first time Finidi George will be the head coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Stay with us.
Telling him not to counterpunch. Telling him not to counterpunch.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
People into the country illegally. the counter punch. Will Rathbun get up or have the
Welcome back. It's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network, and I will keep you up to speed with the latest happening around the world of sports. If you're been following us, you remember that in the last few days, the African Games 13 African Games had been on in Accra, Ghana, Kumasi, and Cape Coast. And looking at the medals table so far, it is Egypt that has been run away champions with just about 24 hours to conclude. Nigeria coming in the second place position, and we want to say this looks like a perennial position for Nigeria. But we've had some inroads, especially with the top athletes from Nigeria doing so well. They are expected to be in the final of the 200 meters event today, and let's see how many more goals can be garnered from the last game that comes up today. And beyond that, we'll now bring you up to speed with the latest around basketball, especially as it concerns Nigeria's representative at the Olympic Games, the Tigress of Nigeria. Vice President of the Nigerian Basketball Federation, Babs Ogunade, is very hopeful that the D Tigress will break the Olympic duck at the showpiece in Paris. Kingsley, there's so much optimism coming from the Vice President of the Basketball Federation in Nigeria here about the FIBA Women's Olympic qualifying tournament we saw last month. It wasn't too good for Rene Wakama and her team, but he is of opinion that having been drawn in what has been described as a group of death, Australia, Canada, and France, that the African champions, the Day Tigress, could make a very strong statement and come out from this group.
Of course, we already talked about this. It's going to be a very tight one, for the Tigers of Nigeria. Take a look at their qualifying, matches. They won only one game out of the 3 games, they played, and they actually played against a very tough side. And getting to this Paris Olympic as well, where they were playing against Australia, Canada, and France. Of course, these are countries that have a very huge pedigree when it has to do with basketball. So, the Tigress, yes, we've seen Rena Wakama since she came. There have been a little bit of stability. She's been able, of course, to bring synergy and confidence back, of course, to the team. We saw her won the Afro Basketball Championship. Coming down to the qualifiers, she was able to win 1 out of 3 games, of course, that were played. I think we've seen optimism as well from the officials. It's a good one. Of course, we should be optimistic. Who says that the Tigers, of course, cannot take down France? Who says that they can't beat the likes of Canada, and Australia? But we know that it's going to be a very tall mountain. It's going to be a difficult one. But if the girls actually prepare themselves and develop that huge level of confidence and improve their game, they can. But when you take a look at the pedigree of these countries, you don't really want to involve, the D Tigers of Nigeria. The D Tigers of Nigeria, they've not won any game, of course, in the Olympics. This is going to be the 3rd time. They've actually participated in the Olympics 3 times, and they've not really come up with a very favorable result. It's been a long time, of course, we saw them at the Olympics. Good of a thing, of course, we've seen them in this point in time. But from what we've seen at this stage, it's really a very difficult one for the D Tigers of Nigeria. We hope that the brilliance of Rena Wakama, the players, of course, that will be called as well at the end of the day, will be able to see Nigeria, get past France, Canada, and Australia. But Mr. Suzuki, I tell you, if that happened, that would be a miracle.
Miracle expected at the Paris Olympic Games in the next few weeks from now. Talking about the Tigers at the Olympic Games, like he mentioned there, they've been there twice. They played at the Olympic Games twice, but they've never won any game. But we've seen some level of optimism with the way they played at the World Cup, at the FIBA World Cup. So we believe that if the D Tigers can take down the United States of America, maybe who says they cannot win Canada, France, or Australia at the Olympic Games, at least for once, get a favorable result. We'll keep our fingers crossed, and of course, hope that Rene Wakama knows all she has to do to bring out a winning, mentality from these girls. She's done it before at the FIBA Championship. We want to see her do it again at this level. FIBA, Rene Wakama, no doubt, maybe doing what foreign basketball coaches could not do. Our fingers are crossed. She's been part of this D Tigers team, so she knows it all, both as a player and now as a coach. Let's see whether we can get one or two results from the NBA, Kingsley. The NBA is continuing, to very crucial stages right now, and we are seeing teams that had little issues in the past beginning to win games. Houston Rockets, surprisingly, was able to take out their opponents. In fact, they've returned to winning ways now. What do you make of Houston Rockets beating the Chicago Bulls in the early hours of this morning, 127 to 117 points?
I think that's a very good result, of course, for the Houston Rockets. Good of a thing they've actually stepped up, their performance, at this point in time. When the season, of course, started, no much expectation actually was on them because of how, they finished, last time. But from what we've seen at this point in time, they've been able, of course, to live up to expectation. Taking down Chicago Bulls, I think, it's been an impressive ride from them. We've seen them maintain some level of momentum and some level of unbeaten record, for themselves. But we'll see how far, of course, to be able to go going forward. I think we still have a little more games, of course, to be played. Let's just see how far, they were able to maintain this momentum going forward.
Milwaukee Bucks and, of course, Brooklyn Nets. It was in action in the early hours of this morning, and Milwaukee Bucks, Gianni Antetokounmpo, were able to take out the Milwaukee and Brooklyn Nets by 115 to 108 points.
Much expected results, for me, Mr. Siri, in that particular, encounter, because when you take a look at the prowess of Milwaukee Bucks, they're a traditional side, when it has to do with, the NBA down there in the United States of America. They have much pedigree, and we actually expected more as well, from them in that particular encounter. Gianni Antetokounmpo, one man, of course, who doesn't disappoint whenever he's on the court. Of course, I think he'll also be one man, of course, who actually, put up a much for the points as well in that particular encounter. But good one for the Milwaukee Bucks. We hope, of course, they continue with this level of performance.
Denver Nuggets had 113 points as compared to New York Knicks that had just 108 points. Denver Nuggets returning to winning ways as well.
Denver Nuggets returning to winning ways. For me, I think we should, of course, see more, from them going forward, because those like what we saw last time, last season, they were very, very fantastic. They took all the teams, on the road, and were able, of course, to stand strong, at the end of the day. And for me, I think we should be, of course, expecting, to see more from the Denver Nuggets side.
We saw 7 games in the early hours of this morning, and all 7 home teams won. Do you think it has to do with the fact that we are coasting home now, and so all home teams do everything possible to winning on the courts?
Of course, winning at home should be, should be a must thing now, because looking at the fact that the NBA is gradually coming to an end. If you can't gather points, if you can't win at home, it becomes difficult for you on the road, at some point. But that's what, of course, you expect at this point in time, in the NBA. So for me, I think the fact that the season is gradually coming to an end, that's why we're seeing these home teams, of course, trying as much as they can to gather those points, as much as possible. Because if you don't, it should be, of course, difficult for you on the road.
Very easy performances, and I say it is expected with the matches thinning out. You have to win at home to see how you will place at the end of the day. Who is going to the playoff? That is the target on the minds of all of the franchises that we have in the NBA as we speak. Away from basketball, let's see what's happening now in golf. And talking about golf reminds me that legendary Tiger Woods is being listed for next month's Masters. This is Cherry with a series of injury concerns. The 15-time major winner will compete at the Augusta National. That is the biggest stage if you talk about golf.
Yeah, I think for me it's a huge one, of course, for Tiger Woods. A lot of issues, on the man, going to marital issues. He had accidents, a few years ago and all of that, and he has not really been stable at in golf. The last time, of course, he wanted to, play was in Genesis Invitational. That was last month, but he opted out, due to injuries as well.
Illness?
Yeah, we hope that he'll be able, of course, to make another appearance, this time around at the Masters tournament, of course, that will be coming up. I think that will be a good one. A lot of persons want to see Tiger Woods, play golf, once more. It's been a very, very long time. I think the fans, of course, are really missing the man.
Fans of golf are missing Tiger Woods, legendary, I must say. He is one man who has done it on the biggest occasion, and of course, the Augusta is one golf course every renowned golfer want to play. He's played there a couple of times, so he knows what it takes. But like you mentioned, their injury, family strife, and illness has hampered his performances in the last few months, and it's looking difficult for him to continue. But it will be nice to see whether he do his farewell at the Augustus. That's a very big stage, I must say. Time for us now to take a bit of tennis. And talking about tennis reminds me, Kingsley, that British #1 Katie Butler is through to the Miami Open third round after 16-year-old Fujitova was forced to retire due to illness.
Yes, I think a good one for Butler, but it wouldn't have been that easy if you know, the likes of Brenda, of course, didn't retire due to, you know, illness in that particular encounter. But good one for her, of course, that she's been able to go through into the third round of the Miami Open. Let's see how far, you know, she'll be able to go.
Well, we have the British #1 female go through to the third round in men's singles. British #3 Dan Evans fought back to beat Italy Lorenzo Sonego and a rare win in what has been described as a difficult start for the season. Then Evans, one-time #1 in Britain, now 33 years of age, is slided to the third place position. But can he make a mark in Miami?
For me, I don't really have much, you know, hope or confidence on Danny Evans because if you take a look at it, this is actually his third win in 9 matches, you know, this year. Not a very good start for him this season, and for what we've seen so far, it hasn't been that very fantastic, you know, for the man. So for me, being ranked, you know, 43 now in the world, I don't think Danny Evans have what it takes, you know, going forward in this particular competition. But let's see what, of course, he brings to the table. Maybe this performance might just be a means of motivation, of course, or probably giving him that, you know, confidence, you know, going forward in the competition.
Well, if you're a follower of British tennis, you know that, and Jack Draper, and of course, what's his name now? Murphy will definitely be in action later today at the Miami Open. And looking at how the females are performing in Miami, Arina Sabalenka, world #2, who had a very torrid time last week, will be up against Paula Badosa. What do you make of this one? Following the death of her boyfriend, talking about Arina Sabalenka, that she's still powering on at the Miami Open.
Yeah, Mr. Siri, this is actually mixed feelings for me because I don't know how it's going to be for Arina Sabalenka, you know, losing her boyfriend and then being on the courts as well. I don't know how she's going to cope. And her friend, Paula Badosa, is also not on a very good state of mind going into this one, you know, against Arina Sabalenka. Both players are friends, and for the fact that Arina Sabalenka lost her boyfriend and she's coming on the courts, I don't know how the feeling is going to be when, of course, the game kicks off. I tell you, not really. I think much emotions is going to play in this particular one. But for Arena, everyone thought, of course, having lost her boyfriend, she's going to actually stay away. But I don't know what her mindset. She came up, of course, you know, to decide to play in the Miami. And let us see how it is. But for me, the game is going to be filled with lots of emotions.
Talking about the emotions, plenty of it will be on showcase as we go into football now, because in the Nigeria Professional Football League, or Premier Football League, there will be a local debut match between Rangers and Heartland FC in Aba. This promises to be very thrilling. Kingsley, anytime Rangers take on Heartland, it is always full of emotion. But this Sunday, this weekend, it will be at the Yimba International Stadium, neutral ground for both Rangers and Heartland FC.
Yeah, Mr. Siri, a lot, of course, to expect in that particular encounter, because when you take a look at it, one team is trying to win the league this season. That's Enugu Rangers, and they are second on the log with 45 points, while the other team, talking about Heartland, they're trying to survive relegation, which, of course, nobody is actually seeing Heartland, you know, surviving that relegation. Taking a look at their performance at this point in time, Rangers, they've been very, very fantastic this season, and I think despite the fact that this game is going to be, you know, the neutral ground at the Aba Stadium, I think Rangers still have an edge when you take a look at the level of performance, you know, so far. They have much pedigree in the Nigerian Premier Football League, 7-time champion for the league, as well as, you know, Heartland, who also have much pedigree, not until now when, of course, they are not performing, or they are not at their best due to, you know, the way they've actually gone about in terms of managers that have actually come to manage the team for some time now. So for me, I think Enugu Rangers have what it takes when you take a look at the level of performance this season so far.
Rangers International has what it takes to take out Heartland. You talked about relegation. That reminds me of the fate of Gombe United, another Premier League side, because the organizers of the league here in Nigeria is trying to curb all form of indiscipline and hooliganism at home grounds. And now, Gombe United has been asked. In fact, they've docked 3 points from their point haul, and they're taking 3 goals as well away from the team, following the assault on match officials in one of their league games. David Wumi not smiling at all, bringing the big hammer, docking 3 points and taking 3 goals off the haul of goals for Gombe United. It looks like they are beginning to open the doors for relegation.
Yeah, really open. They are really, opening doors, for relegation for Gombe United, who have been struggling down the log, at this point in time, and being deducted 3 points. I think that would be a very huge setback for Gombe United. Being slammed 3 million naira fine, another setback as well, for them, because that money have to really come out, from their pocket. These are things that the league body has been clamoring for ever since the season started, because the league is on TV. You can't jeopardize the image of the league and go free. So in a situation like this, whereby the league body has been clamoring, make sure you get adequate security in match day, in your match. Make sure you sensitize your fans. Why throwing objects into the pitch? Why is the fans harassing the officials? These are things we're not supposed to see anymore in the Nigerian Premier Football League. Taking a look at the standard at which the league is getting to now, and we're still seeing all of this. So for me, Gombe United, I think they get this one to themselves. Not putting much security in as well, allowing fans to throw objects into the pitch. I think is actually something they've actually brought to themselves. But we don't hope that they'll be able to fight and see how they can survive relegation.
The draws for the Paris 2024 football event has been made, and it looks like Nigeria and South Africa will be in a very tough setup. Kingsley, Super Falcons, they are up against Bana, for the ticket. Of course, a double header. Whoever could sit will represent Africa at the games. But at the games proper, it looks like they will have to contend with very, very tough sides, at the Olympic Games. What awaits either South Africa or Nigeria?
Honestly, a very serious one. They have to play with FIFA World Cup champion.
Brazil?
No, that's Spain.
Spain, sorry.
Yeah, Spain. They have to play against Brazil and Japan. So very tough opponent awaits the Super Falcons or the Bana of South Africa. But let's see what it takes. Let's see how that particular encounter will pan out between the Super Falcons and the Bana of South Africa. I think both teams really need this win. They really need this ticket. The Super Falcons, it's been a long time. They've actually been at the Olympics. I think up to 16 years now. And I think they really want to be there this time around. But let's see how it goes in that particular encounter between both teams.
Well, talking about the Nigerian team, last night they were in action against their counterparts from Ghana in the very final of the football event at the Games. And despite scoring first, for the first time, Nigeria will drop goals at the African Games, because the Black Queens of Ghana beat them by 2-1 last night.
Yeah, it was really disappointing performance after showing much progress. Talking about the Falconets, the likes of Jakaye, and the rest of them actually came up to the came to the party, but we saw that despite that little bit of struggle from the princess down there, talking about the girls from Ghana, they actually tried and struggled to get those goals. And I think for me, a little bit of setback for the Falconets. Yes, not getting gold this time, but getting a silver. But everyone expected them, of course, to have gone on the way, to win that gold medal. Taking a look at the fact that it's I think the first time, of course, we're seeing the girls not getting it this time around. But so far, I think it was really an impressive ride for them for what we're seeing.
Well, talking about Nigeria and Ghana meeting on the football pitch last night in the female category, and the Black Queens beating the Nigerian Falconets by 2-1. Later today, it will be yet another duel between Nigeria and Ghana. This one in the senior football event. After 60 years, we'll meet again, and it will be Finidijo's first role as head coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria in an international friendly against the Black Stars of Ghana. the players are all in camp, and Finidi says it is not just a friendly, but it is far more than a friendly. You think so?
Yes, I think so, of course. You know, the rivalry between Nigeria and Ghana, so it is not just a friendly at this point in time. You know, a lot of Nigerians are saying, you can do anything you want to do, but don't lose against Ghana. Yes, don't lose against Ghana, because that's not what Nigeria wants here. Don't forget, Ghana inflicted a lot of pain on Nigeria the last time they stopped Nigeria from getting to the World Cup. That was the Qatar World Cup. It was a lot of pains to so many Nigerians. The fans have to, their anger go to the
we surrendered to them in Nigeria, if you remember.
Yeah, in Nigeria was at the MK Abiola Stadium down there in Abuja. And so the fans were very angry that they have to destroy the stadium and all of that. So this don't have to repeat itself again. Nigeria and Ghana, they're very huge rivals. So I think Finidi should do everything he can to make sure at least we get an impressive victory against Ghana.
Well, the big name players are all in town, and we just hope that without Victor Sime, we can see the Ademola Lookman and rest, get the job done, because like you mentioned there, Nigerians don't want to lose to Ghana. There's a lot of jollof involved in this one. Is it the Nigerian jollof or the Ghanaian jollof? We'll see at the end of 90 minutes. Quickly, we'll go to Europe now. And talking about Europe, it is international friendly, and countries are meeting in Europe as well. One news coming in from England is that they cannot have the services of Bukayo Saka, the Arsenal hitman.
Yeah, it's so sad, and I think we hope that this won't take a very long time, owing the fact that, Bukayo Saka is very instrumental, of course, in the Arsenal, as well as England as well. We hope that this injury, of course, will actually take a very long time, because he actually went to the camp for the England side, but, he was unable to train. And we hope that, of course, he has actually gone back to Arsenal now to just see how to put himself in order. We hope, of course, he will recover soon.
Well, that will be it for this edition of the program. But just before we go, don't forget that if you're a South American follower of football, it is bad news, because Robinho, one-time World Cup star for Brazil, will be starting his prison time today in Brazil. And of course, it's just looking sharing at all for Brazilian players. If you remember Alves as well, if he doesn't pay $1.1 million US, he definitely will be in Spain, in jail today in Spain as well. So we just hope that Brazilian players know how to stay away from women who do everything to at least share part of the spoils that they do have. It's not good news at all. But we'll return at 6 p.m. We'll take a detailed look at why Robinho will be going to jail today in Brazil, and Alves as well may be going to jail in Spain. It's looking difficult, but we'll return at 6 on Sports Extraordinary. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.
Telling them not to counterpunch.